We are excited to be addressing Ignatian communal discernment because it's an aspect of the universal apostolic preferences, but it's also a way that we can all animate the mission because it's what we do. We make group decisions to provide the best education for our students that we can. We believe that Ignatian communal decision-making is not a set of rigid standards that takes years or days or even hours to learn, but rather it's a mindset. We're going to offer 6 steps. First is to enter into the process with openness and freedom, called Ignatian indifference. Second, outline the pros and cons of the decision options in light of the mission, vision, and values. Third, be a contributor. Voice your opinion, especially if it might differ than where the group is going, and also be an active listener. Fourth, presume good intentions on the part of others. Our trustees believe that's one of the most important things you can do in Ignatian communal discernment. When someone has a different opinion, look at that option through their eyes to understand it fully. 5, notice God's presence. Notice your own feelings of Ignatian consolation, those feelings of peace and satisfaction. And 6, deliberate until there is a shared sense of contentment or consolation in which everyone can unite around a decision.
Now that Dr. Mooney has reviewed the 6 steps for Ignatian communal discernment, I'd like to share a few tips through an example of when I use the process. Often circumstances do not allow sufficient time to utilize the full communal discernment process, so you'll have to adapt to fit the situation at hand. For example, in my situation, I had a 90-minute meeting to make a decision whether or not to extend a deadline that had passed for completing the tasks necessary for employees to qualify for a health insurance well-being premium rate. At the start of the meeting, I reviewed the decision before the committee and explained we would be using an adapted version of Ignatian communal discernment to make the decision. We'd go around the room 3 times, so each member would have 3 opportunities to share their thinking. I asked they not immediately respond to what each member shared. Instead, I asked that they listen in a state of Ignatian indifference and presume the good intentions of the speaker. I started the process with a prayer. The first time around, I asked each member to share if the decision was theirs and theirs alone, what decision would they make and why? The second time around, I asked each member to share what they heard from others. And the third time, I asked each member to share what they now felt was the best decision. I have to confess to all of you watching this video that before the meeting started, I secretly knew that the correct decision was not to extend the deadline. I decided I'd be the last to speak, and the first few speakers supported my thinking. But soon a committee member asked everyone in the room to step back and revisit why we were introducing the well-being rate. It wasn't to remind employees about the importance of meeting established deadlines. It was about getting our employees engaged with their health and well-being, and extending the deadline would better achieve that outcome. Luckily, I and the other committee members approached the deliberation with an impartial mindset. For after listening to my colleagues speak, it was clear to me and all the other committee members that the best decision was to extend the deadline.
Following the important ideas from Debra and Connie, the question can be asked if a much larger group can arrive at a communal discernment. My experience is that the answer is yes, but what might that look like? My participation in such larger groups indicates that many people can engage in exercises which can have an important impact and direction for regional and even national groups. Creating a common exercise for important questions allows geographical groups to recognize how the Spirit of God is active among them and what decisions the Spirit is inviting them to make. It helps a group recognize common responses to or resistance to various movements. A group of Canadians with expertise in the practice of Ignatian discernment have organized a very effective toolkit for engaging this type of discernment. The link at Xavier University provides this document And I would invite you to explore the table of contents on pages 4 and 5. They have outlined the important aspects of this practice in 3 tools. Tool number 1, on how a group becomes more discerning. Tool number 2, the procedures. And tool number 3, how decision-making can emerge in common. This is a terrific resource. At base, it provides the instruments for active listening and intentional speaking so that important decisions or directions can emerge from that exercise. Thank you.